Do you know whether any of the underlying allegations made in the Steele dossier were ever tested, probed, examined, cross-examined, whether the sources were examined for reliability, credibility?
I know that there were efforts made by the Bureau to try to understand whether or not any of the information in that was valid, but I don't have any firsthand knowledge of it.
Do you know if the Bureau ever relied on the Steele dossier as part of any court filings, applications, petitions, pleadings?
I have no awareness.
Did the CIA rely on it?
No.
Why not?
Because we didn't. It wasn't part of the corpus of intelligence information that we had. It was not in any way used as a basis for the intelligence community assessment that was done. It was not.
I testified in front of many, many congressional committees in the House and the Senate over the years, and I continue to explain exactly what we did during this process, why we tried to make sure we stayed true to our intelligence responsibilities and that we were not going to do anything at all to try to interfere in that election. And again, it was a challenging time, but also one I think that the people who actually worked this, both in terms of trying to collect intelligence prior to the election and then the ones who put together the intelligence community assessment, they really, I think, showed the best of what the intelligence community and what CIA is made of. So again, I am clueless about what it is exactly that they may be investigating me for.
Fox News alert, the FBI has just launched criminal investigations into two former Obama officials, former CIA Director John Brennan and former FBI Director James Comey, for their involvement in the Russia hoax. Sources say Director Brennan is under investigation for lying to Congress, and that Brennan and Comey were involved in a conspiracy. Brennan apparently told Congress that he didn't have anything to do with the Steele dossier. But we're hearing that Brennan's two top CIA officers warned the director not to touch it and called it an internet rumor. But Brennan pushed it hard anyway. Both Obama's FBI director and CIA director basically knew the Trump-Russia hoax came from Hillary Clinton's campaign, but they both used it to smear and investigate Donald Trump. Comey and Brennan's security clearances have both been stripped by the sitting president, and Comey just had a sit-down with the Secret Service over Seychelles. This is the beginning of a major confrontation.
Joining me here at Courageous Media, we've got some more fantastic news. In the midst of the Trump administration's biggest fumble to date, this botched handling of the Epstein situation, they are once again on the offense. They are once again moving forward to destroy the deep state and to make good on their promises of making the government transparent, at least in this area. So we're going to continue to cover the Epstein thing, but we got to let you know, we got to talk about the fact that Comey and Brennan are about to face the music. They have been referred, this is not just DOJ picking up the ball or anything. No, they have been referred by John Ratcliffe of the CIA for criminal investigation for both perjury and their roles in the entire Crossfire Hurricane Russia collusion nonsense. This is phenomenal news. This is justice starting to make its way downhill. This is what we voted for. We want all of this opened up. We want to know how deep the rabbit hole goes in our government. We want to know how badly the cancer has metastasized, how much we have to cut out to save the patient. So we're going to dive into this amazing story. For those of you who don't remember, so John Brennan was the director of the CIA and James Comey was obviously the director of the FBI when Trump was elected in his first term. Hillary Clinton and the Clinton campaign had hired the Fusion Law Group and several other people to put together essentially opposition research into Trump. And they put together a fake dossier, a dossier full of fraudulent, false information, patently, verifiably false. And then what they did is they used their willing accomplices in the media. They fed this report to the media. The media willingly glommed onto it and reported that this dossier existed. Then what they did is they fed that same dossier to Comey and Brennan and others, And then they briefed the president. And then the media went back and reported on the fact that they briefed the president, and they essentially cemented this thing. It was this dossier that became the basis and the foundation for FISA warrants, for spying on the Trump campaign and the Trump administration, for all of the lawfare and legal action against General Flynn, against Papadopoulos, against everybody else in the Trump campaign and in the Trump orbit. Well, it's FAFO time. You effed around, and now hopefully, again, let's wait to find out, because I don't. Anytime the government is involved, anytime liberals are involved, anytime the deep state is involved, it's always better to wait to count your chickens. But it looks like the find out time has showed up. Let's dive into this report by Fox, and then we're going to get into, because Mike Davis has some things to say on this. Mike Davis, who has been trumpeting this now for years. Check out this from Fox. Welcome in, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. It is great to have you here. Here we go.
All right, following up on our breaking news, Brooks Singman of Fox News Digital has discovered exclusively that the FBI is now investigating the former CIA Director John Brennan and the former FBI Director James Comey in conjunction with the genesis of the Russia investigation. This comes after the CIA declassified last week a report into how that all came about. Let's bring in our panel to talk more about this. Annie Linsky, the White House reporter for the Wall Street Journal, USA Today White House correspondent, Francesca Chambers, and Josh Holmes, co-host of the Ruthless podcast and former chief of staff to Senator Mitch McConnell. Annie, start us off here. The fact that the FBI is looking into Brennan and Comey now, when this declassified CIA report came out, people said, will prosecutions follow? We don't know if it'll be a prosecution, but it's an investigation at this point.
Yeah, this is certainly the logical next step.
So this is fantastic news. The fact, now I want to get into this a little bit deeper. The fact, first of all, that this is not just the FBI picking this up. This was referred by the CIA Director John Ratcliffe. So he has gone through the CIA documents and has now referred these two gentlemen whose security clearance has already been stripped. He has referred them to the FBI and the DOJ for criminal prosecution. And this is not just, my understanding, this is not just on perjury, which in Brennan's case should be a pretty open and shut situation. You saw at the very beginning clip, you saw his testimony under oath before Congress where he told Trey Gowdy, I don't know anything about the dossier. Nah, we didn't rely on the dossier for anything. Nah, it was nothing. We didn't use it. But now that we know from, because of all the information acts and the freedom of information warrants and lawsuits, we have been able to get into what was presented to the FISA court. And we know that the singular piece of quote unquote evidence that was presented to the FISA court was the Steele dossier, which everybody knew was a fake. First of all, Brennan in his testimony said, we kind of checked up on it, but I don't really know about that. No, everybody knew it was a fake. And then they presented that to the FISA court knowing it was a fake. So Brennan, they should easily be able to get on perjury. But it's the bigger case, the bigger charges, which I think I want to see. And I'm hoping that the FBI and the DOJ dig deep, put together the case, and go after not only these individuals, but others. Now let's check in, because Mike Davis, our friend, lawyer Mike Davis, has been trumpeting this for a long time. Let's dive right in. While we do that, if you could, please, we're so happy you're here. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know how we're doing in the comments, and also share Courageous Media with everybody that you know. Here we go.
The second post on this, taking apart the deep state and using this as one of the tools. Mike, also the leak that came out about, and Brennan said today on MSNBC he has not been served with anything, but the criminal investigation of Comey and Brennan, both of these hit at the same time. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, Steve, I've been on your show, I've been on Jack's show since the Mar-a-Lago raid, constantly, hundreds of times, talking about the facts that what President Obama and Vice President Biden and Brennan and Clapper and Comey and so many others did. They politicized and weaponized law enforcement and intel agencies to go after their political enemies. They made up the Russian collusion hoax with the Steele dossier with Perkins Coie. They lied to the FISA court. They spied on then presidential candidate Donald Trump. They continued to spy on President Donald Trump when he was in the White House. They ran constant lawfare against him. They sabotaged his first term with the Russian collusion hoax. I remember when I was in the Senate, even Senate Republicans were running around with their heads cut off because of Russian collusion. They were convinced that Trump could have been a Russian spy because of this. It hobbled his first term. They continued this lawfare against President Trump when they did the Mar-a-Lago raid to get back the declassified Crossfire hurricane records that President Trump declassified via presidential executive order the day before he left office. They brought 4 bogus indictments against President Trump. They tried to bankrupt him for non-fraud. They tried to take him off the ballot. They tried to take off his head twice when they underfunded his Secret Service, and President Biden said to put a bullseye on President Trump's head. I have been calling for accountability for this. I've been calling for a criminal probe on this, and the Justice Department, I've been doing that for years. 4,500 media hits later, we're finally going to get justice, as we've promised on your show, on Jack's show. So I would say to Comey and Clapper and Brennan and Hillary and Biden and Obama, lawyer up, because justice is definitely coming.
Absolutely true. And he's 100% correct on this, because this goes beyond Comey and Brennan. It includes Clapper. It includes everybody. Does anybody remember the Peter Strzok, Lisa Page situation, where Peter Strzok, where Lisa Page says, is Trump actually going to win? And Peter Strzok says, don't worry, we have a plan. We have a safety net. We are going to destroy this. So don't forget. And so what I want to say is, with regards to this investigation, and Brian Cates is absolutely correct as he quotes Dear Rush Limbaugh. Let me explain something for those of you in Rio Linda. You cannot run a criminal investigation into the roles that Comey and Brennan played in launching and sustaining the Spygate hoax without also examining the roles in the massive RICO criminal conspiracy played by, and let's go down the list, because this was a RICO criminal conspiracy to spy on the Trump campaign, rig an election, destroy the Trump presidency, and then conduct lawfare on the out-of-office Trump for the last 4 years, as well as everybody else involved in his orbit. Everything they did to General Flynn, everything they did to Papadopoulos, the raid on Mar-a-Lago, all of this stems back and connects all of these players in a gigantic, this is the definition of RICO, not that nonsense case in Georgia. No, this is real RICO. And it includes Hillary Clinton, Jake Sullivan, Barack Obama, Biden, Susan Rice, Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, Pienka, Lisa Page, Sally Yates, Monaco, Christopher Steele, Igor Danchenko, Orr, Halper, Lynch, here's Clapper, Mark Elias, all of them. You have to start peeling back the onion and make sure that you charge everybody involved. Now, you may have some issues charging Biden because of his basically preemptive pardon of himself. But everybody else, I believe at this point, is fair game. And so this needs to come to the surface, all of it. Spend the time, DOJ, spend the time, FBI, put the evidence together and let's see real accountability. Now, in the face of this, the Dems are already melting down. They're already screaming, politicization. They're already mounting up. They're already lawyering up. Check this out from Mark Elias. And this just warms my heart to see these people squirming. Check this out. Because the libs started melting down and the meltdowns are only going to get worse.
We predicted, you and I and others, that we were going to get to this moment. And the question is, what do we do? And the question of what we do is multifaceted. The first question is, what do we do? Do we retreat and hide in the corner? So I'm on TV today, not hiding in the corner. I'm not retreating. I'm saying I'm going to stand up and fight, and Donald Trump won't intimidate me by going back to this 2016 stuff. And that's one thing. But the other thing we've talked about is, what do large institutions do? What do civil society groups do? What does the media do? And I am imploring, honestly, I'm just imploring the media, do not report this as a legitimate investigation. Do not report this as they're opening a investigation into John Brennan. We will see where it goes. Report this as the misuse, the abuse, the authoritarian takeover of the Department of Justice.
Yeah, exactly. Report this as the authoritarian takeover of the Department of Justice when it was you people who absolutely weaponized under Biden, the DOJ, the FBI, the CIA, and actually weaponized elements of them in the Trump era. The deep state elements that he had no control over. So no, no, no. It is time. It is FAFO time. It is time to pay the piper. Elias, you and all of your co-conspirators, you and all of your globalist corruptocrats, you and all your deep state cronies. It is time to face the music. And it is time, hopefully, the FBI and the DOJ do their job, do this seriously, do it right. And it is time for these people to face serious material losses and prison time. That's all I got. This is fantastic news. Again, Trump has been on a 2-week absolute winning streak. There's been a bump in the road with this nonsense, with the absolute Epstein fumble, but they are back on the horse now, going after the people who have endangered this country for political and monetary gain. And it's time for all of them to face justice. If you like this content, please share it with everybody that you know. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. Also, please join us as a member of Courageous Army, as a member on YouTube or Patreon. We really appreciate everybody rolling up. Thanks so much for being here. Remember, God is good and He is sovereign. It'll all be good in the end. Until I catch you next time.